Welcome back to Thoughts from a Bookworm. I'm Abigail Grace. Today we are going to be talking about the second installment in the Tiger's Curse series, which is Tiger's Quest. Tiger's Quest is more focused on Kishin than it was on Ren. Book 1 was all about Kelsey and Ren, more into Ren's backstory, and that kind of stuff. Book 2 is Kishin kind of takes a more prominent role. The book picks up with Kelsey returning home to Oregon after having been in India for a while, helping Ren. They found the golden fruit. Everything's, kind of settling down for now. She gets home and Mr. Cadam's granddaughter, Nalima, drives Kelsey to this beautiful, duplex that Nalima was told Mr. Cadam bought for Kelsey. Kelsey walks in. It's filled with all these, beautiful things and furniture, and Nalima tells her that, oh yeah, he's paid for college for you at WGU, which is like a university. It's not a community college. Kelsey's very overwhelmed and feeling like, okay, this is too much of a gift. I can't accept this. She realizes that it's Ren who did all this, not Mr. Cadam, which kind of makes her feel a little bit like, oh shoot, I can't refuse it then, because that means I'll have to talk to Ren. Life for Kelsey kind of settles down for a little bit. She starts going to classes. She meets a couple of different guys who express an interest in her, 3 in total. One of them, she ends up going out with all 3 of them. One of them is just a total jerk. He's not nice. He thinks a lot of himself. He's very rude and not gentlemanly to Kelsey. He's just a jerk. So that ends very quickly. Then the other 2 guys Kelsey enjoys. One of them she enjoys more. His name is Lee. He's a martial art instructor, and I am drawing a blank on the type of martial arts, but he's a martial art instructor, which I took Tong Sudo for quite a few years, so was somewhat familiar with the setting of that. And she takes his martial art classes for a while. There's some attraction a little bit. Kelsey is not super attracted to him as more than a friend. She likes spending time with him though. Lee invites her over to his house for it's not for Thanksgiving, it's for a Halloween, for Halloween dinner. She ends up, having more fun than she thought, but she doesn't really like him as more than a friend. The third guy who she goes out with, they don't really have a whole lot in common, but he's nice enough, so she's like, okay, I don't have to marry him, I can just, be nice to him, that kind of thing. Over Christmas, she spends with Mike and Sarah, and Ren shows up at Mike and Sarah's house kind of as not a surprise, but he's there for Kelsey. He explains to her once they're alone that he has, given her space. He's respected that. He's given her months of time apart, and that he's still very much in love with her. Kelsey realizes, okay, he's serious. Her heart melts a little bit, and so she agrees, she admits her feelings for him verbally. So they start dating. They go out on a couple dates. She, very cutely explains to him, the dating practices, because coming from, 200-300 years ago, he's not familiar with dating practices. Everything was arranged by parents back then. So she explains things to him. He's very cute in trying to adapt to today's culture of this kind of stuff, and they date. Kelsey finally ends up ending things with one of the guys. His name was Jason. She ends things with Jason, but when she tells Lee that Ren is back in town, Lee kind of it's okay, well, I am interested in you too, so I'm going to fight for you type of thing. So there's a little bit of tension, competition between Lee and Ren for a while. It does not last long. Lee realizes that Kelsey does love Ren, so he very graciously, takes a step back. And then the bad guy from book 1, who we were only given a very brief glimpse of, but his name was Lokesh. He figures out where Kelsey is. Through a series of unfortunate events, Kelsey's picture ends up being in the newspaper. Lokesh and his men are able to track where she is, so they come for them. Ren suspects that this is coming, so he calls kind of as backup. He calls Kishin to come to the States, so Kishin comes, so it's the 2 of them and Kelsey. There's this massive showdown between Lokesh and his men and Kelsey and the boys. Ren ends up being kidnapped. Throughout the scuffle, Kelsey discovers that she can she discovers this superpower of her own where she can extend this beam. She thinks it's electricity from her hand. She uses it to paralyze a few of Lokesh's men. She doesn't realize she's doing it. It's kind of a self-conscious thing. She didn't even know she could do it. So once that all kind of settles down, Kelsey's hit with a dart. She gets knocked unconscious. Kishin is able to get her safe, but he's not able to get Ren. So Ren is kidnapped. Kelsey, when she wakes up, she's very distraught. She's, freaking out. So Kelsey, Kishin, and Mr. Kadam, regroup back in India. They formulate a plan of attack. Mr. Kadam thinks that the best way that they can find Ren is to work on finding the second gift, which we find out later is the divine scarf. It can not only make clothes, which is kind of cool, but it can change your appearance, because they use that at the end when they're rescuing Ren, that it literally can make you look like a whole different person, which I don't now again, this might be Indian mythology that I'm just unaware of. If I am, please correct me. I don't understand the logic of the divine scarf being able to turn you into a whole different person. I get making, the magic of weaving clothes and this and that. I'm yeah, that's really cool. And the disguise part of it is really cool, but I didn't quite see the connection between the making of clothes and the disguising of a human face. So that was a little bit confusing, but it's magic, it's fantasy, we're just going to go with it. Throughout the course of the book, Kishin and Kelsey end up spending, I want to say it ends up being 6 or 7 weeks where they are together, which was way more than Ren and Kelsey had ever spent together. Kelsey realizes, Kishin at one point confesses to Kelsey that he is repeating history, he's falling in love with Ren's girl, and he's in love with Kelsey. Kelsey kind of not laugh at him, but just kind of trying to keep the mood light. She kind of brushes him off, tells him, you're not actually in love with me, you just think you are, trust me, it'll go away. As time goes on and they continue to spend all this time together in the search for Ren and Durga's next gift, Kishin's feelings continue to develop, continue to grow. The magical realm that they end up going to is this, it's called Shangri-La, which I think is a casino in Vegas. I think that's what Kelsey said, that it's a casino in Vegas. I've never been to Vegas, so I can't attest to that. But they go to this magical realm, and it's very peaceful. It's very serene. They're given these beautiful clothes. They sleep in these amazing beds. The food is delicious, and Kishin just continues to fall in love with Kelsey. Kelsey feels this connection to Ren like she's never felt before, and she kind of describes it as a cable is literally connected to her and Ren, which I like the imagery. I know it's kind of dramatic, but I like the imagery of being connected to somebody that intensely or that strongly. And Kelsey starts to have these dreams of Ren that she slowly realizes they're not dreams, they're actually what's happening. Somehow she's able to see what's going on with Ren. She sees that he's being tortured. Lokesh is kind of interested in him in more than just, I want power. I want to see. Lokesh is wanting to see in a very twisted, gruesome way how Ren is a tiger, how much he can bleed, because one of the things about the brothers, their tiger's curse, is that they heal very quickly, and they can die, but it takes a lot for them to die. They don't age. They heal very quickly. So Lokesh is just torturing Ren. He's severely torturing him. That kind of spurs Kelsey on to move on very quickly. At one point, Kelsey has this dream of Ren, and Ren is actually talking to her. They're having a conversation. Ren is saying that he's not sure how much longer he can hold on. He says that Lokesh has developed an obsession with Kelsey. Throughout his torturing Ren, he's suddenly kind of starting to express an interest in Kelsey and wanting to know where she is, what makes her tick, all that kind of stuff. Ren is obviously not telling her any of that, but he says he's so tired, he's not sure how much longer he can hold on. And then he says that Durga promised her help, but the price for Durga's help is high. We're not told what the high price is. Kelsey urges him, just do it. We can trust Durga. She's on our side. Just do whatever she tells you. So Ren agrees. And then Kelsey wakes up and she feels this severing of that connection to her and Ren. She's convinced that he's dead. Kishin tells her he had a similar dream, but that it was of the future, and it was all three of them on a ship. So Kelsey takes it as, okay, something, I'm just in a mood, whatever. Ren is still alive. They find Ren. They're able to use the divine scarf that they have discovered to disguise themselves as Lokish's men. There's this whole grand, not a heist, but rescue mission that was very confusing but very cool at the same time to read. They're able to rescue Ren, and when they bring him back, he doesn't remember Kelsey. He can remember Kadam, he can remember Kishin, he can remember every single thing that happened to him. He remembers going to Oregon, he remembers going to school, but he just doesn't remember Kelsey. Kelsey, they're all convinced that Lokish did something that altered his memory toward Kelsey. She's obviously very devastated that he doesn't remember her. He's showing absolutely no signs of remembering. They can't figure out what triggers it, what doesn't trigger it. They don't know how do we even fix it because he remembers everything that happened. He remembers going to Oregon and staying in the adjoining duplex from Kelsey, but he doesn't remember Kelsey. So the second book ends on way more of a cliffhanger than the first book did, because that's how the second book ends, is with them coming back to Mr. Kadam's Indian, well, it's actually Ren and Kishin's house, but going back to Mr. Kadam's house, them throwing a birthday party for Kelsey because it's been a whole new year, so she's now 19, and Ren just having absolutely no memory of Kelsey, Kelsey really struggling with that, and the book ends with the two of them kind of agreeing, okay, let's take a step back, we won't be boyfriend and girlfriend right now, let's just get to know each other, which the book is in Kelsey's perspective, so we can immediately see how difficult that is for Kelsey, which I can't even imagine, to be honest, being in that position of being so incredibly guarded your whole life, finally letting those walls down, only to have the love of your life not remember you and having to backtrack a little bit. So my heart completely broke for Kelsey at that point, but there's still hope. Mr. Kadam is convinced that if they can just break the tiger's curse, that will sever the hold. Whatever Lokish did, whatever magic Lokish did to Ren, that will eliminate everything, that will break everything, and they'll all be good. So that's the hope that Kelsey's holding on to at this point, is we just need to break the rest of the tiger's curse, and Ren will be okay. So that's how the second book ends. Like I said, way more of a cliffhanger than book one. This book is really the book that I fell in love with Kishin. I did like him in the first book. He wasn't really in it that much, to be honest. He's in it a lot more in this book, and I just love Kishin so much. He's just, I don't know, I really liked Kishin, and we'll talk about this when we get to book 4, but I feel like the author really did him dirty, to be honest, and that was the one thing that I did not like about this series. I hated how it ended, but we'll talk about that when we get to book 4. So that is where we are going to end today's video. If you guys made it to the end, thank you so much. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode.